Alright, so this is going to be a little mini version of the little cavern drawing that we did. This is what the drawing looked like as a whole. So I've got 3 major shapes, and then I have, so essentially I'm doing, I think I have 4 layers. So this is layer 1, 2, 3, 4, actually 5 layers. So big blob, mini or smaller one, even smaller one, smaller, tiny. Okay. And so what you want to do, depending on the size of your paper, you want to divide it up into 3 blobs, 4 blobs, however many you want to have. And I'm just going to do one shape. It's not going to fill my entire page. It's just to show you kind of how to do the smaller thing. And so what I'm looking for, I don't have with me, looking for a different pencil, because I like using the regular pencils, the wooden ones, because it's easier to shade. Just buy it really quick. Use this guy. Alright, so you have your first blob, then you're going to lightly shade that first blob. It's looking kind of like scraggly right now, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a tissue or a little piece of toilet paper, paper towel, whatever, or even your finger, but your finger might smudge it a little too dark, and I'm just going to blend that out. Okay, and now you can't even see really the little zigzaggy lines that I had, and so I'm going to do another layer really quick. Just kind of get that really light layer going. And eventually I'm going to make it so that I erase my outline around here. But I'm not going to do it right now because all my little blobby shapes might end up taking care of that for me. So now I'm going to go in and I'm going to draw some pretty large little blob shapes. It's almost like what you want is for there to be a thinner, narrow space in between each of them. And so when I have my shapes, I'm going to shape that even darker. And it's going to be the same idea. So I'm just going to kind of scraggly, scrabble, shade. I'm going to hope that it doesn't really bite me in the butt and leave any marks. So the point is to, little by little, make each layer darker than the last. So right now it kind of looks like this little dinosaur egg. And you can always go in. So right now it's not as dark as I want it to be. You can see that it's slightly darker than my original shape. But I'm going to go in and shade it just a little bit darker. So I feel a little bit better about the way that looks. And for the purpose of time, I'm gonna only focus on like one of these shapes because I don't want this video to be longer than 10 minutes because it can very well end up being much longer than 10 minutes. Okay, so we can see the first layer and then we have our second layer. So I'm gonna focus on this blob shape here, okay? And it's going to be the same idea. So I'm going to do another blobby here, I'm going to do another one here, and then I'll do another one over here. So in most of these I'm doing kind of maybe just like between 2 and 4 or 5 blobbies inside the shapes, depending on how how big the shapes are. So like in these two over here, so this one I can probably only fit like 2, and then this one I can probably fit 3 as well. So you just kind of want to see what the shapes need, and then go from there. And so the first few layers should go kind of fast because you're not pressing down on the pencil very much. And then as your shapes get darker, or the more layers you do, the darker the layers are going to get and the smaller your shapes are going to be. So I might just leave these guys like that. I can still see a clear edge, so notice there's a difference between edges and outlines. So here it's just an edge because this whole value is different from this value in the space in between. And so what you want to try and avoid is drawing outlines and then shading it in. So you don't want any outlines, you want just little by little to shade. I forgot what I was going to say. Sorry. Okay, continuing on. And then I'm just going to, I think I'm just going to focus on this section. So I'm just going to do little by little, again, to keep this video under 10 minutes because it's already been almost 7. Okay, so shading in, now making new shapes. So this is now my 4th layer because this is 1, 2, okay, 1, 2, 3, and then this is 4. And so here, I'll erase that in a second. I'm probably not going to use my tissue anymore. I'm just going to let the pencil create that value. And just going to try and get it to be nice and even on that first try. And also what I'm going to do is I'm going to open my little mini sketchbook so I'm drawing on the surface of my table and not on top of a giant stack of soft papers. And so if you're struggling to get really dark values with your pencil, then try making it so that you don't have a stack of papers underneath it. Now I'm going to switch because I'm getting into smaller shapes. I can switch back to my mechanical pencil, and so now I'm going to, and I'm looking at it here, and so there's not a huge difference between this value and this value, so I can probably just kind of blend over the whole thing with my finger, and now I can see the difference between it. So you're just going to kind of play it by ears, but with your eyes. Okay, and so now I'm going to be able to go in. I have my regular pencil, and I'm going to kind of shade that little section in. So now, I mean, I can probably squeeze in 3 little mini shapes in here, but I probably would if this was any bigger, but because it's so small, I'm gonna not. So maybe I am. Okay, so here, this one does have 3 little blob shapes, and they're just on the mini side. And this is totally fine in my little mini drawing to be the last layer because you really can't see. I mean, it's just really dark, or really small. So you can probably try for 1 more layer. So I'll do this little shape a little bit bigger. Shade that in. And then maybe I'll do like 1 little section as dark as my pencil can go. So I can't tell if it's different because the light is shining on it. Yeah, you can kind of tell. Okay, so maybe I will go in 1 last little layer. So this, I think, is technically 6 layers. And I'm just doing 1 little shape inside of the small ones just cause time and shape. There's not a lot of space. Okay, and so there we got one big blob into a lot of different sections. So we have 1 layer, 2 layers, 3 layers, 4, 5, and then 6. So the more layers you have, the more cavernistic it'll look. So on mine I have 5, and it kind of gives the appearance that it kind of recedes into darkness. And so that's kind of how you go about it.